Hi, I hope you're all okay and taking care in the icy weather if it's snowing like it is where I am in Derbyshire. So, anyway, sorry about that. That's a bit better. Let me just have a look. I don't know if it's charging. Yeah, because it went flat on me last time. So, sorry I'm late, by the way. It was meant to be for 1 o'clock, but I got a bit sidetracked. And to top it off, as usual, you know, these things happen. My phone was glitching. So, you know, technology glitches and all that is things that we can't tell. But anyway, so my name's Kenley. Welcome to my channel. Today's video, I've got some notes, quite a few, because I want to stick on topic. I've not allowed the chat this time, I don't think, so, right, so yeah. So, this video is called Heal Disease Step by Step. Now, some might be thinking that's false. Some might believe me. Some might have had experience in being able to heal themselves. If you have, and you'd like to comment or share your story, please comment in the comment section below. So, the first step, or the first easy step that you can make when you, or if you decide that you want to take your health and well-being into your own hands, i.e. not relying on the NHS and doctors or the 111 and, you know. Obviously, I just want to add, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a naturopathic doctor. I'm not a nurse of any kind, nor do I profess to be, nor do I want to be. Just to clear that up. Everything that I share and express in this video and other videos on my channel are purely my experience and my point of view and perspective only. Therefore, there's a possibility that you or other people that you know have or will or may have much different experiences to me. So that being said, so how can one take a little step into the journey of becoming more well? Well, we always hear about drink more water. I hate water myself, you know, I've got to admit it. I prefer peppermint tea or nettle tea. Or my fruit smoothies, which I have one here ready because it's gone past dinner time, but I'll have that in a little while. So this, what I'm drinking just before we get started, and it is only a small one. I usually have a pint, you know, every smoothie because I am back detoxing. So in this jar we have distilled water. So, you know, I've just mentioned water. Obviously, any water is better than no water, and more is better than a little. So that being said, I have distilled water, which I'll move on to in a minute. There's sable grapes in here, which are obviously the black grapes for anyone that doesn't know. And also there's organic lemons, and I've put 2, you know, I made it earlier, and so I got 3, you know, smoothies basically out of it. So I've had one, got this one, and I've also got another one. So, right, before we get off topic, so distilled water. So some of you may know and some may not know that distilled water is basically, it's gone through a process of basically almost identical to the water and the rain cycle, you know, out in nature. So why would one possibly benefit from, you know, starting to consume distilled water? Well, if you look up for yourself, you will find on, you know, you can use Google, any search engine, you know, DuckDuckGo, is it Bing, you know, any search engine really, and if you type in what are the benefits of distilled water, you should find useful information there. That being said, it is known by some that distilled water is, and this is a fact, it's not a theory, it's not my opinion, that it is the most purest water available to life. And so I'm going to actually do a video on this. I've got a little science experiment on what's in your tap water. I did a short on this, you know, quite a long time ago, and got sidetracked, and you know, so but yeah, I'm going to be doing a video all about that and using water electrolysis. So in that experiment, I'll be using 2 identical glasses, one with tap water, not distilled, and one with distilled water. Who knows? I might find it's cleaner than I first, you know, thought. But that being said, you know, my theory on this, based on, you know, common knowledge, experience, and also looking in the bottom of my electric distiller. I wish it was a gas distiller, but you know, they're very, very expensive, and so, you know, ideally, you know, you'd be able to use a, you know, a non-electric distiller. You know, you could take it camping, you could use it, you know, if you have a power cut, which is amazing. If you, you know, would like to go off grid, you know, so in my opinion, they're sort of better if you've got the money. So, thank you though, Dad. My dad, you know, brought it for me roughly 2.5, 3 years ago. So thank you, Dad, for that. Bless you. Love you lots. So, yes, distilled water is very pure, you know, on a molecular level. And so it helps with detoxifying the body in general. Also, I don't know whether anyone who might come across this video has researched this or come across, you know, the well, basically, you know, the information on water holding memory, and you can sort of program water, or what's it called, restructure water. So what does restructuring water mean? Well, it basically, when you get water out of the tap, you know, I think my water supply, in fact I know my water supply is with Severn Trent Water, and as we know, because of certain processes, you know, sewage and toxins and, you know, dirty water from washing and all that sort of stuff, pollution, we all know that the water that goes out from the tap down the drain goes, you know, back to the water treatment plant. And so you might be thinking, well, yes, and well, the thing is with this is that the water coming out of the tap, water is alive. It has consciousness. I know that might sound really strange to some, but if you don't believe me, research it for yourself. I haven't got any links at the minute. I didn't even think, to be honest. But you could find, you know, plenty of information online. And so you can restructure water. You can use, you know, water vortices that charge the water. Why would you want charged water? Well, it's invigorating for one. And so that can help in, like I say, detoxing the body. And, you know, what's the basic need for water? For hydration. And so it assists in that very, very well. And if you studied science at school, most people did, there's a process called osmosis. And so, depending on the charge of the water and the molecules and things like that, osmosis works on the charge, or pH, and you can move matter and molecules through water and into all your cells of the body. And so it doesn't take a genius to work out that that is going to be pretty amazing if you know that basic knowledge. That being said, you can also restructure water using intentions. If you've ever done this, I'll be doing an experiment myself on this at some point, with cress or bean sprouts, and get 3 jars, you know. Intentions, what are intentions? Well, intentions are what you intend to project, as in a feeling, emotion, you know, like words like love, hate, and then, you know, something neutral like hello. They've all got a vibrational frequency. And so if you imagine that, you know, we're not in the air and we're in water, you can imagine that the very action of speech will produce waves. We all know that sound waves exist. Pretty basic, I know. And I know you're not stupid, but, you know, I just want to make sure that I'm being clear about this. And so, water has a crystalline structure, as do we. I was amazed to find out a few weeks ago that melatonin and melanin, blood even, our, you know, teeth and our bones are all crystalline. So think about that for a minute. What comes to mind, personally, is sacred geometry. Now, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole just yet. You know, I tend to waffle on and get sidetracked. So I'm going to stick to my notes. And, right, so distilled water helps by it being pure. You don't get anything else left behind in the water, because, you know, water is also known as the universal solvent. That's my dog barking at nothing. Bless him. He's getting old now, you know. Takes one to know one. Yeah, I'm 40 this year, so, you know, I'm no spring chicken. So yeah, so water we know that is present wherever life is. And so it's obvious to say that all life, being human, animal, plant, fungus, bacteria, which is, you know, like we are bacteria in a sense, all need water, liquid water, to survive and thrive. And so on that basis, you know, we know that other countries have to, unfortunately, drink, you know, contaminated water. Excuse me. And so, you know, many things that can be dissolved in water can cause a lot of harm and even death in some instances. And so the purer the water, the better for health and all round invigoration. So yes, if you haven't got a distiller, if you're not interested in buying one, if you haven't got the money to buy one, you can actually make one yourself. I don't actually know how to go about it, but there is videos on YouTube, and also, you know, you'll find them probably in abundance, you know, just through searching on Google and whatnot, right? So, I'm so sorry, I'm so tired. So, yes, normal tap water is still, you know, a very big part of everyday life. We all need water, you know, there is no exceptions to the rule whatsoever, unless you might be a koala bear and they don't drink at all, if I remember correctly. They solely survive on eucalyptus leaves and get their moisture and liquid water from that. Pretty amazing. Koala creature. Anyway, before I get diverted and go off down a rabbit hole of no return, so one of the first steps that we can all take, myself included, is drinking more water. You know, 1 glass, half a glass more, you know, than what you're currently drinking. Obviously we're all slightly different, and so, you know, obviously we've got to bear that in mind. That being said, so water is the first step. If you are experiencing any symptoms, and what I mean by symptoms is, myself, I have an autoimmune disorder. What's that? Some people may be thinking, well, It covers a very wide and broad category of symptoms, ailments, if you like, and you know, the reason for this is because autoimmune, let's say there's 5 people with systemic lupus disease, right? Which means it affects the whole system. So, you know, your internal organs can be affected, it can be neurodegenerative, and, you know, I mean, that can range from unable to focus, lack of concentration, it can manifest as severe brain fog, you know, memory loss, all sorts of things. I mean, eventually, on the, you know, extreme end of the scale, you know, you get degenerative neurological diseases like, you know, Alzheimer's, MS. You know, I've had symptoms and still have symptoms of that today, although they are considerably a lot less than they were, thankfully. So, you can get well, believe me, you can. If anybody was a Debbie Downer or, you know, a wallower, poor me, why me, I'll never get well, why do I always feel poorly? This was me, and if I could make progress, I'm telling you now, there's no doubt at all in the universe that you can also. So, just before I move on, so the water out of the tap has had a bit of a brutal process that it's had to go through. You know, vigorous chemicals, you know, one in particular is fluoride. And I will come back to that in a minute. But I've done research on this, and fluoride is a toxin. In fact, it's that much of a toxin, and if you don't believe me, do the research, because our government buy fluoride, which is a radioactive toxic waste from, I believe, China. I don't know at the moment. Sorry, just excuse me a minute. Right. Yes. So, I just got a message off my friend. So, yeah, so it's got chemicals added to it, you know, chlorine, many other harmful chemicals, you know, but they're just 2 to name a few. And so, you know, it also goes through filtration processes. You know, we've all smashed a glass in the sink, you know, and so you wouldn't want to turn your tap on and, you know, get a load of shards of glass in, you know, in your glass of juice or your glass of water, because it's obvious it wouldn't be very comfortable and very detrimental to health. And so obviously, you know, we all use the toilet. We wouldn't want poo particles and all these bits and bobs of horridness in the water supply. And so, you know, the government chooses, because there is other ways, like I say, distillation. And so this affects the structure of the water, it affects the effectiveness of the water, and epically affects how healthy and pure the water is. Obviously, that goes without saying. And so, you know, is it really good for you when it comes out of the tap? It's not for me to decide. Like I say, I hate water anyway because it's tasteless. And so, you know, just me drinking more water is like not short of a miracle, to be fair. Anyway, so the water that's come from the water treatment plant has had a brutal, you know, processing before you turn the tap on and it runs out the tap. So it's not going to have a live or a life-giving charge to it. There's also another process called reverse osmosis. I've done a bit of research on that. You know, and it's better than tap water. It's obviously better than dirty water. If that's your only option, you know, so be it. That being said, water should be alive. Most things that we put into our body today are that processed with chemicals, with, you know, certain, you know, processes and chemical treatment processes that it doesn't really do what it should do. Now, I can remember when I was at school, and I am keeping to the subject, so don't worry, but I can remember being at school, and, you know, we used to go to these little, like, spiritualist chapels for, you know, all sorts of different reasons. And I noticed a lot of them were called, one in particular was called, or is called, the springs of living water. Now, water is actually, like I say, it's got consciousness. It's meant to be alive and, you know, invigorating. So where can we get live water from? Well, springs, natural springs, and natural, you know, where there is clean and filtered natural water. So that water is actually alive, and so one would say possibly you would feel more alive by drinking that. Goes without saying. So that's the first step, you know. If you are having any issues with your health, physical, mental, emotional, and everything in between, one of the first steps is to up the intake of water. So, keep a symptom journal. My doctor told me to do this. I wish I'd have done it before, you know. But the way I was feeling was pretty shit, you know. At my worst, it wasn't surprising for me to be in bed for the majority of 3 days. Not joking. And so, you know, that, along with everything else, you know, endometriosis, and, you know, so the sleep issue because of the fatigue and the pain, and, you know, I was literally dying. I didn't feel alive, not one bit, not one bit, not one bit. And so 3 days in bed, come on, you know, I'm 40 this year, but so what, you know, I'm not over the hill. I'm supposed to be alive and well and healthy and happy, you know. But it's a shame these days, there's a lot of people barely surviving, treading water if you like, not really getting anywhere health-wise, you know. They go to the doctors and every time they go, they come home with another prescription on top of what they've got to treat the symptoms from the other medication that they got previous, more than likely. So, that's why I don't go to the doctors anymore, because, well, we'll get into that. So keep a symptom journal, and that will make it easier for you to record the progress. Excuse me. I was up till late last night, well, this morning actually. I believe it was well past 3 o'clock, you know. So, anyway. So yeah. And you want to be able to refer back to it. Like I say, it makes it easy for you to track your progress and, you know, just keep an eye on things. The next thing, so step 2, my advice would be an elimination process of what you're eating and diet. And let's reconnect it. So very early on, what I did, it's just said you're alive. Well, I thought it was anyway. I feel alive, baby. So yeah, what was I saying? So very early on, I decided, you know, begrudgingly, but I was willing to try anything at this point. Shit was getting serious, shit was getting desperate, you know, I'm a mum, and so, and I've got stuff that I want to do in life. I don't want to leave my daughter. You know, you're gonna have to drag me kicking and fucking screaming. If you don't like swearing, by the way, I'll suggest you click off now. So, let's carry on. So yeah, I eliminated all dairy products. So I made a switch originally from cow's milk to oat milk, well, soy milk and oat milk. They had their own issues for me, you know. You might try that and find that you like it, you might find that it agrees with you, and you might want to stick to it. It's all about being aware of how you feel, okay, and, you know, where you want to go from there. And so eventually I swapped all together and started drinking coconut milk. Now, I love the stuff. I absolutely love coconut milk, but, and there's a big but, every product, whether it's, you know, dairy-free alternatives like coconut milk, vegan, you know, like buttery type spreads, vegan mayonnaise. You can't get vegan eggs, I'm afraid. No yolk, I know. But, you know, so when these are heated, you know, UHT is an example, which means ultra heat treated. It changes the composition and the chemical structure of whatever you are heating up, and so it has a detrimental effect on my body. I can't speak for anyone else. I've only got my perspective and my shoes, and I hope you like me leg warmers. I just tried them on this morning and they've just stayed there. So anyway, that's the waffling on. So yes, I cut out all dairy products and I cut out grains and pulses, beans, and lentils, which were a massive part of my diet. And you know, still to this day, I must admit, I can't deny, I miss lentil soup, I miss baked beans, and yes, I have them once in a blue moon, but I tend to stay away from them. So the other thing, you know, grains, that's, you know, obviously bread, any bread, you know, rolled oats, you know, grains and stuff like that, legumes, or I think that's how you say it. And so I started noticing that after breakfast, you know, you're supposed to feel alive. What do we eat food for? Energy? Well then, why was I feeling tired? Like I needed to have a nap, not an afternoon nap, not go to bed early, but like I'm not even mid-morning sometimes, so I'd have to sleep it off. And so, yeah, it took me a while to click on, because I was that backed up lymphatically. I was blocked off interstitially. And by that I mean, you know, it was that deep and that profound, and in every cellular orifice that you can imagine, I was clogged up and blocked. And when something's blocked, it stops things coming in, going out. And so I was numb. I was unaware. Numb, dumb, dumbed down, whatever you want to call it. I was that and some. So I cut out grains and dairy and meat also, all meat. That being said, I do. Not so much at the minute because I'm on detox. But I did fall off the wagon this Tuesday just gone. For anyone that's watching this, it's Friday today, and so it was the Tuesday just gone that my dad rung me and said, we've got a dinner here for you. Jim's made you a dinner. So that's my stepmom, and she's a very good cook, so I couldn't resist, you know. Even when I was waiting for my dad to turn up, I was sort of thinking, you know, so it was a bit of an internal battle. But I just could not refuse. You know, there was chicken on there, homemade Yorkshire puddings, mashed potato, my favourite, you know, and they're not dairy free, and obviously, you know, chicken and meat free, and so started, you know, eating that, and God, it was like, if I had 10 of them dinners, it still wouldn't be enough. Now, if that's not an addiction, I don't know what it is, but trust me, I'd know all about that. That's another story. So, yeah, so I cut out tuna, fish finger sandwiches, everything that I liked, minced beef, chicken nuggets, everything like that. But I carried on. I knew I'd got to do something. I knew it was drastic. I was willing to try anything at this point. And I also, in the back of my mind, did think, you know, as we all can, if it don't work out, you can go back to it, you know. I mean, it's a choice. And so we need to remember as power, it's always, always personal choice, you know. And that is the beauty of taking responsibility for your own health. Not only does it take off the stress of the understaffed, overworked NHS, you know, if you know or not, you know, there's amazing people work for that establishment that we call the NHS, and they are so overworked and underpaid that it's like not a joke, you know. And so I would like to think the only time that I would seek medical attention is accident and emergency for myself or my daughter, or, you know, so like broken bones, things like that. You know, it's a real big health issues. But, and it is a big but, and I'm only talking for me, but I would not trust any doctor, surgeon, hospital doctors, any medical establishment, whether it's you know, on the National Health Service or whether it's private. I would not put my life in their hands and say, for example, and I have had tumours. You know, I used to have a tumour here on my arm that's gone. I had two in my breast. I had every lymph node on my body was swollen and enlarged. And so we all know, or maybe not, that you can get lymphomas and cancers. What is cancer anyway? Because cancer is what they call it, that's that label. But what is it also known as? Well, in science we got taught, and I have many reasons to believe, not believe, but know, you know, to some degree, you sort of knowing that you just know, you feel it, you just know, right, that in a nutshell, it's a mutated cell, right? So, what mutates that cell? What could possibly get into our body, or not? It could, or does, if you ask me, reside within us. Because why? Because we're made of cells, you know? And it's similar to, you know, what people have said to me, but what about this cancer? What about that cancer? But it's still cancer. And cancer is, and this is a fact, cancer is a mutated cell. And so, a cell is a cell. Like a dog is a dog. You use the same process in, you know, like for dog training, dog psychology. A dog is a dog. They have a tendency to learn in very similar, albeit, you know, you get your purebreds that have been bred for certain characteristics and traits and appearances, but still, a dog is a dog and acts like one and needs to be treated like one and needs, you know, what that dog needs. It's not a person, it's not a cat, you know. And so, anyway, so yes, it's a mutated cell. So what could possibly be in your body right now that could turn a cell into a mutated cell, or a cancerous cell, as they would like to call it? Well, if you go back to science again, and base chemicals. So there's something called the pH scale, the power of hydrogen. And so this is all about electrical charge and efficiency in carrying a certain electrical frequency, charge, right? That being said, so we all know that in the middle is like the Goldilocks. It's green, which is neutral. And then you've got the both ends of that scale. And so what are the base chemicals? Well, acid and alkali. So maybe some of you can see where I'm going with this. Acid burns, it's hot, right? It is there to break down necrotic waste, dying and dead things, right? So we need it, you know, it's very important. And so on the opposite, the contrasting end of the scale is alkaline, which is soothing, cooling, anti-inflammatory, as opposed to acid, which is inflammatory because of the burn becomes inflamed. You know, it's even a clue in the word: inflamed, hot, sore, stinging, ow, ow, you know. So, knowing that, then it's safe to say that this acid present interstitially just means in between the cells. And so when you've got something like SLD, systemic lupus disease, right? Or Hashimoto's, most, autoimmune diseases, well, all of them, I would risk saying all of them, but I could be wrong, and I have no problem in being wrong. You know, I wish I was wrong in many things. And it's not even about being right or wrong. Like, as in an ego, right or wrong. I don't care whether I'm right or wrong or not. But what I do care about is the right that's right for all of us. You know, as in a fact, not a personal opinion, not, it just is what it is, right? And so it's another name for autoimmune. I would, I would say is, and it has been known as this, acidosis. What is acidosis? Well, it's when your body is in a putrid state. Whether you know it or not, it is. And I noticed a lot of things, I'll get into that in another time. But you get a lot of, I thought that was a post lady, you get a lot of clues regarding your body and whether it's in homeostasis or not, whether it's efficient or not. And most of the time I see a pattern, right? Like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I see patterns. Us as human beings, we run on habitual, cyclical, routine, you know, whether you look at the mind as in cognitive, whether you look at the body as in systemic and systematic processes, and whether you look at nature, the water cycle, things like that. So I started noticing patterns, and one that reared its head to me personally was, and I just want to add just before I start, that my mum has brittle bones, whether you want to call it osteoporosis or not. It's purely choice, in my opinion, but it's brittle bones. So what could possibly cause that? My mum's very active for her age. So Mum, if you see this video, hi, you know, I'm just talking about you in a good way. She does a lot of water skiing, or did, until she got a back injury, you know, and her and my stepdad are very, very health orientated. Excuse me. So, going back to the base chemicals again, what in chemistry neutralizes acid? Calcium. So right there. So what could be happening? Well, what I believe to be happening, and my improved health leads me to, you know, assume this is your body, if you are having these symptoms, and I was on my way to having, well, it was in a bad state of degeneration, to put it quite, you know, I couldn't even turn my foot out or in. I could only lift it so far. It hurt getting out of the car, in the car, walking up steps, walking down steps, even, you know, just self-care, you know, bathing, shaving and whatnot that us girls do. And so it was slowly getting worse and worse and worse until I changed my lifestyle and eliminated these foods that I've just been on about, increased water, all that sort of stuff. And so my mum's had one hip replacement, and the doctor said she would very likely, or definitely, need another one at some point down the line, which my mum was obviously horrified, because it's, I don't know whether any of you have had hip replacements. I know my stepmum has as well, and I can just imagine it's awful to go through. You know, you can't drive, and you know, the recovery is somewhat painful and slow, you know. So would it not be fair to say that prevention is better than cure? I think so, definitely. And so, you know, going back to the dairy and the grains and the pulses and the legumes and the lentils and the baked beans and the meat and the fish, when your body processes them to utilize the energy in that type of food, your metabolism basically on utilizing the energy in that food, in the processes of this, forms acidosis, right, long term, depending on genetics. That's another video. It's a long rabbit hole. So yeah, so calcium neutralizes acid. And so when you get, you see, I've got teeth issues, really bad. They're not as bad as they was. I've got receding gums, you know, I've lost bits of my teeth. I've got some that are a bit loose. You know, the amount of people that said to me about sugar and stuff, and, you know, in all fairness, I did think the same too. But I have come to learn now, and you can check for yourself, that sugar on its own is actually alkaline. So that's not going to rot your teeth, but it's how the body processes it, you see. So, on that, you know, when you start seeing, you know, like gingivitis, bleeding gums, and gum disease and things like that, and you have, you know, poor tooth health and poor oral health in general, it's going to make you sit up and think, well, like, you know, and you're going to try and do your best to figure out how you're going to rectify it and stop it, you know, progressing any further. And so what I noticed was that, and I'd felt this from an early age, you know, being a teenager, you know, it was probably just a little while before Mum and Dad actually split up and got divorced. Excuse me. That I had, like, even past the root of my teeth into my actual mandible, my jawbone, on, you know, clenching my teeth together, it was aching, you know, and it was like, it was progressive. I used to go to the dentist with my dad once a year without fail. I used to look after my teeth, couldn't see any cavities, and so I just ignored it. I thought, it must be me, gaslighting myself, really, you know. There's nothing worse than you can do to yourself than that, because you start ignoring your intuition and what you know, is a problem. You start repressing. Don't get me started on that game and that process. So, yeah, I didn't get cavities, you know. One of the issues I've got, because I got my tongue pierced, not long after I'd had that done, and I was chomping just happily, without a care in the world. I bit down on it, you know, both sides. Oh God, the pain. Oh, I mean, it took years for that to actually become, you know, like a cavity. That being said, there was obviously a fracture there, somewhat, and some damage, right? So, but, you know, going back to dental caries or cavities, right? I noticed that it wasn't on the biting surface of my tooth. It wasn't necessarily where food particles were becoming stuck. It was actually just like on my gum line, in between my teeth. You know, I started to get pain, real bad pain. And I ignored it and ignored it and ignored it. You know, I brushed my teeth. In fact, I switched from regular toothpaste because of the fluoride in it. And if you look on the back, even if there's one chemical or ingredients in food or products that you put in your mouth and your mucous membranes, I'd advise you to think thrice. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Because if you don't know what a certain ingredient is, don't you think that's a bit silly and irresponsible? Anyway, not get on that issue. So I started using food grade hydrogen peroxide. I couldn't think what it was called then. So only 3%, you know, and I started making my own sort of tooth rinse to, you know, try to improve and maintain my oral health. And it worked for a while. It really worked for a while. But as things progressed, I was finding that that was making my teeth sensitive. And so it only means one thing. And slowly but surely, you know, things were just getting worse, from bad to worse. And so I have got a video on what is actually remedying this, and you know, things orally are improving in leaps and bounds. So if you would like to know more about that, comment in the comment section below, or have a look in the rest of my videos on my channel, and you will find it there, what I use, how much, and yeah. So something else that you could try if you are experiencing poor oral hygiene, poor oral health, or sensitive teeth, is unrefined, cold pressed, virgin coconut oil. And it's also known as oil pulling. Ah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Bit of a pain in the arse, you know, you can't stand at the sink and just spit it down the sink. Why? Because it will block your drain up, trust me. I know, because I've done it more than once. So, you don't want it to be costing you money in other ways and stress in other ways. So, you know, my advice is to spit it into a rubbish bag, or, you know, what I do with mine, you spit it down the toilet. And so, and it also detoxes the body, the oil pulling does, you know, just on its own. So it's another good step to take if you would like to start and detoxify yourself. So, step 3. So I cut out bread, yeast, containing products, and I used to love these brioche breakfast, you know, like sweet pastries and, you know, stodgy type stuff. But I had to cut all of those out. I do, when I'm not on detox, I have the odd a bowl of porridge with, you know, coconut milk, and it has to be gluten free, but even still, I still get issues, you know, and you know, but I have it as a treat, you know. I must say that I still miss that full up feeling, you know. I think with me it's possibly a type of an addiction. So it's sort of linked in with emotional and mental, you know, type things. Food being the first thing that I did abuse, first and foremost. So, we all know that junk food's bad for us, but we all, I'm sure, have binged on that or ate too much of it, not took care of ourselves. And the amount of chemicals that are in stuff like that is unreal, but we're not on about that now. So, you know, obviously, do this at your own pace. My advice is to, you know, step by step, cut out or eliminate certain things at your own, you know, at your own pace. Like I said, it's your power. You have the choice. No one's forcing you. Hopefully, health isn't forcing you, and so to do it by choice is always the best way. There's no way about it, you know. So, yeah, I started by being a vegetarian. You know, very rarely eating chicken, fish. You know, I love cheese, but I never eat it anymore, you know. It gives me really bad spots. And also gives me really bad... Excuse me. It also gives me really bad... menstrual cramps and PMT. Makes me really drained, and yeah, I can just tell it doesn't agree with me, but you know, so yeah, I'm not saying I'd never eat cheese again, because forever's a long time. Jesus Christ, oh, it don't bear thinking about. Anyway, so yeah, I started out just, you know, very basic. So I would have a smoothie in the morning, you know, black grapes and lemon, or black grapes and mango in a smoothie, or the odd bowl of porridge, you know, before I learned the hard way. And smoothies for, you know, dinner, and then, you know, the choice is yours, or you could have a soup, you know, steam the vegetables wherever you can. It's not as intense as, you know, boiling your veg, and so it tends to retain a lot more nutrition than having, you know, like boiled vegetables, and especially when they go to really soft. I think I'll have to have it early night tonight. So yeah, it retains a lot of the nutrition when you steam cook vegetables. You can still overcook them, but you know, you have to use your common sense if, you know, you go down that route. And so, I mean, I tried, because of the information that I'd found out, and, you know, some of the channels, Dr. Robert Morse, naturopathic doctor, shout out to you again. I can't state enough, I can't stress enough, this man is amazing. Go check him out. He's on YouTube, he's on, I believe, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, possibly, I'm not quite sure about that. And Telegram. So yeah, you know, he'll advise you when you're first starting to have, you know, steamed veg. You know, a step healthier than that is salads. You don't want to be eating too much different food though, because the way to get your body to detox in the first place is to give your body a break. So that's the reason behind the soups rather than just, you know, and like I say, I did have just the normal the basic veg, you know. I used to get, I can't remember what it's called, farmhouse mixed veg, or where you get the carrots, the peas and the sweet corn, and really, you know, 3 ingredients. I sometimes still do add sweet potato to that, and sometimes I don't. But like I say, you know, ideally, like top of the class marks, ideally you want to be on a mono diet. That's one food only, and it's amazing. It sounds boring as fuck, you know, but let's, you know, I've got a dog, gorgeous, lovable rogue he is, you know, getting on a bit now, a bit smelly, but you know, if my dog can be, you know, exceedingly grateful for the same food that he has every day, you know, then I'm sure I can manage it. And so, you know, tried it, I did, and succeeded, I did too, or still am. So yeah, the less various, you know, or the less amount of different foods, the better. Also, like I say, the soups, because it's liquid, you don't want your body wasting valuable resources and energy just to extract the energy from that food. It's like, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul type thing. Defeats the object. But, you know, even doing that, you do feel better, trust me. You know. And so I took it in stages. I feel that's the best way to go about it. You don't want to run before you can walk. The old me, I did want to do that. I went down every road imagination made possible to not have to change my lifestyle. You know, I went down multivitamins and minerals and supplements. The reality is, folks, if you want to get well, chances are any symptoms similar to mine, and you know, the list is endless, so you've got to use your own self-awareness and intuition, you know, that if you really, really want to get well, you've just got to put the work in. You're worth it, and I mean that. We are worth it. We've got to value ourselves. And yes, it is really hard. There's no denying. You know, I've cooked for my daughter when she's been here. You know, and her favourites are fish fingers or chicken nuggets and beans and loads of tomato sauce. And, you know, it's hard. But in times of my weakness, you know, and being in the house on my own, you know, there was times that, you know, nobody would know. I didn't have to answer to anybody. It wasn't like I'd got anybody watching over me. And so, like I say, it's our choice. It has to be your choice. Like with any massive lifestyle change, if it's for anyone else, then you're building your house on unstable ground. And so, sooner or later, the shit's going to come crumbling down around your ears before you know it, unless you're very lucky. And without a doubt there is those people out there, you know, the jammy buggers that can, you know, but it's all to do with genetics and, you know, how well or not you've looked after your body, age, environment, you know. This shit does go deep, you know, to the point where, you know, a toxic environment, well, what is a toxic environment? Well, obviously there's harsh chemicals and solvents, if that's what your job entails, if you're eating processed foods, hairsprays, bath products, beauty products, flea treatments, you name it, cleaning products. But it goes deeper than that. If there's people around you that are unhealthy, as in toxic mentality, toxic relationships. And what do I mean by toxic? I mean like abusive. And abuse comes in many forms. The most nefarious has got to be, you know, the subtlety of emotional abuse. You know, there's no bruises, there's no physical evidence per se, not saying always, but very unlikely. You know, it's not like a domestic violence situation where you've got the bruises or the cuts or the black eye or broken ribs or whatever it might be, right? And so it's one of them. And so you've got to be the only judge of your life. That's not for me to say. And so anybody that keeps you stuck in this low self-esteem, low confidence, second guessing yourself, not listening to your intuition, being a people pleaser, these are all toxic and they do have an effect. Whenever you're under stress, if you're in a fear, you know, mentality, you're going to release cortisol and it's going to have an effect on your kidneys and your adrenal glands. And that I will get into in a different video. So, one other thing just before I go, because it's nearly been an hour and a half and I'm sorry about the length, not sorry. Cut out caffeine. There's caffeine in a lot of carbonated drinks, especially Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper. There's caffeine in chocolate, there's caffeine in tea, coffee. Yeah, can't think of any more. And so you want to try and get away from stimulants. Why? Because it's a chemical, because it puts your endocrine system and your kidneys under stress. So, you know, I would advise do it gradually. I had the worst caffeine withdrawals, pardon me, like, you know, not worse ever, you know, than anyone, but just, oh God, I was an arsehole, I was irritable, the headaches and migraines, yeah, anger, feeling really tired, but, you know, I just cut mine out. I was just like, right, that's it. I got to a point where, fuck this shit, I'm not doing baby steps, I just want it out of my diet, I just want to, you know, I'm just going to grab the bull by the horns, fuck it, I want to, like, you know, do this shit, I'm on this shit, let's go, type of thing. So yeah, you know, it's up to you, it's entirely up to you, and at your own peril, I will say. So yeah, you don't have to do it all at once like I did, but, you know, gradually might be better, especially if you've got a full-time job, or if you've got a big family, you know, also added sugar. I have started using something called stevia, which is plant-based and natural, and is a lot better, you know. I mean, it's up here compared to sugar being down here, which is like refined fucking crap. You know, I'm not saying that stevia extract or the sugar alternative is good for you, but it is amazingly, you know, amazingly better, a lot better. That's bad grammar, but you know, yeah. So, it tastes different, yeah. It smells different, yeah. It's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just doing what I want to do. And I have got a giant mug, and so this is what I use. So, you know, it got to the point where I was having 3.5 sugars. Yeah, not good, is it? Not good, not good, especially when I was doing my urinalysis testing strips and I was borderline diabetic with glucose in my urine, protein, ketones, bilirubin, which is blood, nitrates, yeah. So, you know, having at least 4 of these a day, sometimes more, with 3.5, 4 sugars in, is not good. And you know, it was taking me weeks, sometimes, to heal the most menial, minuscule type of cuts, spots, grazes. In fact, yeah, it was like I was treading water when it come to healing anything, you know, and that was the same for my acne, my hair, just my health in general, you know. It was poor, it was shit poor. So yeah, cut out added sugar. Also lower your salt intake, you know, gradually. What else? Yeah, I think just for now, seeing as it's another long video, I'm just going to leave it at that for a minute. And so, yeah, steamed veg, soups, so steamy vegetables like, you know, sort of, I've used casserole vegetables, or like a soup base mix, you know, you find them, you can buy them frozen, you know. I would advise you, if frozen is the only option, the same with fruit as well, just before I go, you know, and I'd go as far as even tinned, right? If you can't get fresh, you know, in different parts of the country, or whatever reason, right, use what you've got around you. You know, your health is your wealth, and you know, that being said, if you want, you know, your vessel, that being your body, to, you know, get you from A to B, and, you know, then you've got to maintain it and upkeep that. You know, my granddad, I miss that man so much. I'd give 3 years of my life to just have 3 minutes with that man. God, would I, you know. I'd probably end up spending at least a minute and a half of that just cuddling him and not wanting to let go. But he used to say, you know, nah, my love, make sure you look after that body, make sure you look after them teeth, you've got to last you all your life. And I used to laugh at him. Not laugh at him, but you know, I just used to think, what a funny thing to say. But I find myself saying all them little phrases, you know, myself. And yeah, I'm not sorry for it. You know, I admire that man more so now. And you know, and it just keeps growing. You know, amazing man. He once took my driving instructor's, I believe it was a Suzuki motorbike, to bits, to his horror, you know. But, you know, with all the people around him doubting him, he never ceased to amaze me. He was, you know, everything. Everything. He knew everything about everything. You know, also, you know, just, yeah, an amazing man. Miss him so much. Died of cancer. Mutated cell. So in my opinion, he was murdered, along with a lot of other people who were dear to me and fond of and knew of. Anyway, before we go down that route, so I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. So I'm going to do a video on recording your analysis tests and what they mean and where to find them, and show you the difference of, you know, the state that I was in, where I've come from and where I'm up to now. And I'm just going to keep it going, you know. I'm going to see how fucking healthy I can get me. Why not, eh? You know, me being me, if anyone's watching this that knows me, you know, I don't know when to stop, and so it might as well be with a good thing this time. So, anyway, I hope this video helps somebody that could be struggling with their health. I just want to finish by saying, you know, anything's possible. You know, the human body is an amazing, amazing, amazing creation. Don't underestimate it for 1 minute, you know, and it's never ever too late. Even if you've got that label that they call cancer, it's not too late, guys. It's not too late, right? It's only too late when you're dead, right? It's worth a try, isn't it? It's worth a try. Love you. Take care. Stay safe. Be careful out in the snow if there's snowing out where you are. You know, look out for other people, elderly people, you know, children. You know, it doesn't hurt to have his eye open. And, you know, you never know, one day could be us, our daughters, our sons, you know, etc., etc. So, thank you. Take care, and I shall see you all soon.